long and hard on the stock
Oh.
market. Yeah, okay, not good. Not good. I'm joined here by Emma Damakosh and Damian
Yes,
Rollis. And here's what we're going to do today. This is something different than we do usually. Damian and Emma have come with a list of stocks that they want to buy. We've opened up a Robinhood account. We're going to buy those stocks, but all of us have to agree to buy them. And if all of us agree, then it's a $5 buy. If two of us agree and one dissenting person is aggro about not buying it, it's a $2 buy. If two of us disagree, if there's only one person vying for it, I'm not buying it. And I'm the one in control of buying.
What?
Yes.
Oh,
correct.
Whoa, that was never agreed upon.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I think
sorry.
Emma and I...
I've got my finger on the button. I'm
Emma and
the
I should be
expert in the
allowed-
room.
Okay, but if you disagree with us, I think that we should be allowed to prove you wrong by buying some of the stock.
Yeah, and I can decide to veto if I so choose, just because you have no choice here. So, right now you're looking at our Robinhood account. We're going to go stock by stock, and they've made choices. I have no idea what they are. I want to start off by actually trying to guess at least one stock that each of you are going to buy, if not more. Okay? So I will guess Emma first. Now, it's important to understand your client. This is a PSA for all you financial advisors out there. I was a financial advisor for many years. It's very important to understand your client's needs and wants and where they come from. Emma is a raving communist lunatic. So I'm going to start with that as our baseline for what she's going to buy.
Adjectives.
Now, she is fairly anti-capitalist, despite having all the tropes of capitalism surrounding her.
That's debatable.
And because of that, I know she's going to be deeply conflicted about every stock that she chooses to buy.
Correct.
And she's going to choose to buy mostly crap. Okay, so this is the context in which I'm choosing.
What do you mean crap?
I know for a fact that Emma must have chosen a renewable energy company, a solar panel manufacturer, but she's not going to do it if it's in China with Uyghur labor. She's going to try to go with like a European or U.S. renewable something or other.
And
because
that's the crap. That's what you think is crap?
She needs to satisfy her soul. No, that's not what crap is. I'm saying her reasoning is crap because she's going to buy the stock. Right? Like the stock has nothing to do with that.
How dare you? How dare you?
The fact that I am being forced to purchase stocks at all is upsetting.
Already, I know. This is the problem. So first and foremost, my guess for Emma is you've got renewable energy, probably solar, on your list. Is that correct?
Maybe.
Yes. All right. That's correct.
Is that true?
I actually tried to steer away from just a solar company. And so the one I have also has a large hydro portfolio.
10 solar companies.
And then we could talk about how bad hydro is for the environment. Let's come back around on that.
Good work.
Nice. Okay. Now let's dissect my other client. My other client is Damian Rollis. Now some context here. Damian is mostly broke. He works in a shed in his backyard. He's always cold. And he is one of those, he's like, he's Han Solo-ish in his surliness, yet heart of goldiness.
I like that.
Mostly passive aggressive about the things that he actually wants. And my guess is some of his stock picks are going to be passive aggressive as well.
Interesting.
He does have a bromance, I know, with bearded hipster type leaders, which means I know Twitter's going to be on the list. Okay. I know Jack Dorsey is on the list for you, but I'm not going to pick that as the stock.
Okay.
Because it's boring to pick that.
Good. I'm glad you didn't, because you're wrong. So what is your pick?
My pick is, I think you're going to channel like your kids and stuff for this. My pick is one of the streaming services, whether it's Disney or I doubt it's Fox because of the Fox Corp, so it wouldn't be Hulu, but Netflix. It's going to be one of those things where when you're surly and passive aggressive, you want to sit on the couch, you hate everybody, but you also want to feel connected to the universe. So
that's where you're wrong. That's the only place I'm
happy.
happy is when I'm on my couch with my remote.
So my guess is
you're actually right. You're right.
You have to have Netflix on there.
Beautiful, but that's not really for the right reasons, but great job.
This is my segment called Better Know a Client, and Emma and Damian are my clients.
Maybe you should guess the entire top 10 and we could just wrap up this.
No, because we don't have that kind of time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go alternating one at a time, and we're going to see what they chose to buy. And remember, we're actually buying these stocks. So so we're going to live and die based on the stupid ideas that relatively uninformed clients have. And this is really how you need to think about investing and being a financial advisor in some ways, because this is going to be terrible. All right, let's start with Damian. It looks like, and I can read off we have it ordered on the show, so I can read them off one at a time, and then you can explain why, and then we'll debate. The first company we have for you, Damian, is Salesforce.
Yeah, you're gonna notice a theme with all my picks, because I definitely went towards like a do-goodery theme, Despite your initial guess, I actually didn't pick anything terrible, because I'm a little bit like Emma, whereas the idea of investing in companies makes me feel a little bit ill. So I only went with companies that as much as I do love Jack Dorsey, you're right, and I actually use Twitter, but I hate it. So I will never invest in them. I hate them. I hate it. It makes me depressed. All right, Salesforce. They just acquired Slack. This just seems like a big deal to me. It seems like a really great buy. I don't know. I hear everyone using Slack, even dumb, non-techie people. Salesforce is always in the news because their CEO Benioff, he at least pretends to be really woke. So I just feel like I feel like with Biden winning, maybe woke stocks are going to have 4 years of pleasure. Buying Slack seems smart. That's why I'm going. That's why I went Salesforce.
Okay. Can we pretend that this is not an investment in Benioff's woke beard, though, and it's an investment?
Does he have a beard?
Yes, he's a bearded hipster.
Oh, all the better. See? 4 years of woke beards.
Emma, what do you think about Salesforce? Do you have any thoughts about Salesforce?
I don't even know what.
Do you give a shit about Salesforce?
Before Emma answers, can I just say something? I don't even know what Salesforce does.
Oh, good. That's the basis.
Okay.
This is how people invest, everyone. Go ahead, Emma.
So I do care about Salesforce, unfortunately. And if you go to the next slide, you will see that I do care.
Oh, Emma put Salesforce on the list too. That's the incoming.
I did.
Wow.
I also picked Salesforce mostly because of its Slack acquisition, but also because everyone my age has Salesforce on their resume. Like, it is a highly desirable resume builder. So
really?
I think, for everyone that is going into business in any manner, they want Salesforce on their resume. And so I think, one, because of the Slack acquisition and everyone and their mom uses Slack. And two, because I think it's going to continue to be a highly desirable skill for the up and coming workforce. That's
Salesforce.
why.
So I have two thoughts.
Impresses me.
And Matt, can I also tell you why I picked Salesforce? Is that they were in the top 10 list from this Just Capital. They ranked companies. Salesforce is at number 7. One of the reasons why is their diversity, equity, and inclusion score is 116 versus an industry average of 50.
Okay, so you're just this is a wonderful example of how you can spout numbers that have no meaning. So here's the thing here's what I think about Salesforce.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
Yes.
But I think the Slack acquisition, I think they're overpaying, and I think Teams is undercutting Slack and actually crushing Slack.
Just made up money.
If you remember, we covered stories about the Slack CEO complaining incessantly about Teams and Microsoft undercutting them. packaging it and antitrust and Microsoft's terrible. When you hear that level of whining from a CEO, do we really think that that's a good thing, or do we think that maybe that's not the best? Not
that wasn't Benioff though.
No,
that
no,
was the Slack
that was
CEO,
the Slack
right?
CEO.
Yeah,
who Benioff just acquired.
So do we know what Salesforce's intention is with Slack? Are they going to let them operate, like a subsidiary, or are they just going to completely take them over?
I think
do
they're
we know?
going to integrate them. The whole idea is integration,
which would be smart.
So I will give this, and you.
Oh wow, we actually got Matt to. I'm shocked that he is letting anything we pick go through.
I'm gonna give it. You can't see this right now because I'm not sharing screen. I'm giving it a big hell yes. We will.
Wow.
We will buy Salesforce right now at the max for us at $5. Order placed on Robinhood. I don't have a big problem with Salesforce, actually. I think you're in some ways correct. But let's go on to, because this was an agreement pick. Both of you picked. Yep. We're going back to Damian again.
Yes.
The next company on the list here is Beyond Meat.
My darling.
Oh boy.
Look, Beyond Meat to me is the company of the future. I'm on Beyond Meat for the next 20 years. Or whichever company makes fake meat. I love fake meat. That's it. and the reason why, I'll tell you the reason why I picked this.
Is there a boundary on your fake meat love, though?
Here, hold on. Let me just tell you why I picked them. I will say that everything I picked on my list today has come from our archives of news stories that we pick here at Free Float Media. I picked Beyond Meat because they just rolled out 2 new versions of its Beyond Burger that are healthier, and I just come on, it's a no-brainer. Come on, let's do it.
Let me see if this changes your mind. I'm going to say one thing.
Yeah.
Fake fish. Now, Emma, go ahead. What do you think about Beyond Meat?
I think from an economic standpoint, I have 2 considerations. First of all, I think that all the major producers like Tyson, all of those other meat people are going to start doing meatless meat. And I think that they have more resources. I think they have more funding. I think that they have more technology. And honestly, I think that they could end up coming out with a better, cheaper product.
Hell no.
Eventually, that could crush Beyond
cheaper,
Meat.
Not
eventually. Better. Could be, probably cheaper, not better, but still cheaper, which is probably the more important consideration when investing in it. Secondly, Beyond Meat has actually not released as of, I think, August of this year. They haven't released an environmental impact report, and so we don't actually know how good it is for the planet. At least that was my most.
How good? What is the company or the production of
the company?
This?
So like the company practices, like their farming, their whatever.
Yeah.
We don't actually know.
Farming.
However, I do think that like for the next 5 or so years, they're probably a good investment.
Here's why they haven't released that report, because it's going to reveal that 100% of their fake meat is beef.
And Matt, to your fish comment, I am grossed out. I don't know why. I think that
fake fish.
I think that the idea of beef is sort of gross to me inherently. But I do love fish. Like, I hate to say it, but I love fish. And the idea of them messing with fish is sort of upsetting to me.
Is there an issue with fish in like in climate change? Or I'm not really aware of this.
Yes.
Overfishing? Yeah, of course.
Okay, overfishing. All right, but let's be real here. Our meat consumption, the meat farm. Come on, that's a much bigger thing. It's a much bigger problem.
Well, hang on. So like people think about trees as one of our primary sources of oxygen. Plankton are like phytoplankton are a much bigger source. I think that it's like 60% of the world's oxygen.
Right. So take care of climate change by reducing meat consumption, and we'll increase plankton.
Here's what's happening right now. Here's what's happening right now. I just want to point this out.
2 idiots arguing about something we don't
understand.
First
of all, Emma just took you to school.
I'm with Emma. There's no school. Well, we're at the bus stop together. We're going to Coney Island. We're hanging.
It was like 10 minutes of Emma taking you to school, ending with Emma saying, "But I'd buy it anyway," and that's where the whole thing just came off the rails, right?
What do you think?
I think everything Emma said is right. And I think that it depends on whether or not, look, are you buying now for a short-term gain and Beyond Meat and then going to pop over to the Tyson Foods when they make the same product? Is this a product-based thing? Or is this that like your rebellious, antithetical, screw big meat investment?
Absolutely.
Because guess what? Big Meat does not care when Damian Rollis places a $2 investment in Beyond Meat. They don't care. So
they do.
So if you're doing this as a big FU to Smithfield Pork, oh, we'll show you good. It's not going to work.
Everything I do is a big FU to somebody. So whatever.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So
are you saying bad investment?
I'm saying that reasoning is terrible. That's
But
the two of you agree. The two of you agree. So here's what's happening. We're going to buy it for $2 because I think your reasons are terrible. But you both agree. And
I didn't realize that that's how this game worked too, that you could reject an amazing stock just because you hate us.
No, I can reject the reasons that you have for buying the stock. That's the process matters when buying a stock. That's what I'm saying. Emma, we're going to go on to Emma's next. Emma picked Cole Haan.
Oh, yeah, I did.
What's Cole Haan again? Clothing?
A shoe company.
So here's what just happened. Emma just railed against Big Meat, which is where leather comes for Cole Haan to make shoes. So, Emma, explain yourself. This is beyond absurdity.
My reasoning for this one, I did no research about this one, and I will tell you why.
Yeah.
Here's what just happened. One of my favorite comedians, Hassan Minhaj, just did a collaboration with Cole Haan on a shoe line. He's a big sneakerhead. Okay. And the reason that I want to go for Cole Haan, and I did no research beyond this piece of knowledge, is because if they are working with people like Hassan Minhaj, I want in. That's it.
This is the Beyonce Peloton. This is Travis Scott McDonald's. This is Emma's woke shoes.
Just as an FYI, it's also not a publicly traded company. So
it will be. So I looked it up. I wanted to include it anyway. I didn't care.
But that's fine, except that you know who wins in this transaction. First of all, you bought into, to Damian's point, you bought into the Travis Scott school of purchasing, which is
marketing and advertising.
Which is you got marketed. Your ass got marketed.
Yeah, they marketed very well, and if they can market that well, that means they can sell shoes.
Do you wear the shoes?
But we're happy to throw out the climate change impacty argument because they're going to sell shoes. And number two, worth saying here, the big winner if Cole Haan IPOs is a private equity firm called Apex Partners.
Now, that doesn't sound right.
Do you know what else Apex Partners owns?
No.
Palantir, I hope.
No, but they do own like 10 other fashion companies, Auto Trader Group, Bankrate. They own companies that I'm pretty sure you're not probably as keen to own because Hassan Minhaj has
She likes the song.
I do. I love him. And I'm hoping that they continue to go in the Hassan Minhaj direction and not in the gross direction.
The gross direction. Can you give one example before we move on? What's the gross direction?
Like fracking.
Okay, I thought you were going to tell me like a gross celebrity. I thought you meant.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they said that Logan Paul was their new spokesperson, I'd be like, I hope.
Right, but Jake Paul, you'd be behind.
It was my boy.
All
right. So we have to give this.
I like that conversation, but that one's a bust. So let's move on.
We have to give it a hell no because we can't even buy it. Thank you, client Emma. I think we put it on the back burner, and if it IPOs, then we have to invest. Thank you, client Emma, for an unbuyable stock. Damian, we're gonna move on to you here.
This is my strangest choice, I think, on my list.
Not only is it your strangest choice, but Damian was ESG analyst.
Yeah.
A governance analyst for 15 plus years.
50 plus.
500 years ago, Damian was analyzing the governance of companies.
Yeah.
And the company he chose to invest in today is Volkswagen.
Yeah. Which is weird for a lot of reasons, because
Emma just threw up in her mouth. Please explain.
You probably know my anti-German bias is wonderful. So it's
we don't need to get into World War II bias, legacy bias.
So just picking a German company was tough for me. And you're right. Picking an ESG failure company was tough for me. But here's my reasoning. I think the Germans, they carry around a lot of shame. I think they felt a lot of shame from that scandal. And I think that they're working hard to fix themselves through that shame. And I just feel like someone's going to come along and beat Tesla. And I just believe in them to be the ones who could really beat Tesla. So the reason why I picked them is they said that they announced their latest round of investment in electric self-driving vehicles, right? So I don't know. I could just see a German car manufacturer being the ones to win self-driving. It's just a hunch. That's why I picked them.
I don't even know where to begin. Emma, can you start us off with that reasoning? Because I feel like you just turned into a Yiddish grandmother, and that's why you're buying Volkswagen.
Yes, maybe.
Number one, Damian is in some ways a Yiddish grandmother, so I feel like that was maybe the most.
It's a compliment. If you met my Yiddish grandmother, it's a compliment.
Right. I think that number one, investing in cars is stupid. Because I think
electric
as opposed to leather shoes, of course.
Yeah, no, we're talking about electric, not gas. No, I'm not investing in their gas future.
I understand, but cars as electric, gas, diesel, whatever, are going the way of the typewriter, because I'm not planning on having a car anytime.
How do you get to Boston when you go to Boston, Emma?
How do I drive? However,
okay. Well,
we are talking about larger society here. And I'm just saying,
talking about us.
That number one, everyone my age wants to live in a city. You don't need a car in the city.
I don't know. The pandemic is changing a lot of this, right? I don't know. I would have said you're right a few years ago that people want to live in cities. They want to do public transportation. I don't know what people are going to want now because everyone's afraid of each other.
But it's all heading the way of Amsterdam. There aren't going to be cities are cracking down on less parking spots. So how are people going to have cars in cities anyway? I think cars are a bad investment in general.
Okay. All right.
And I think that this shame, you think they feel any level of real shame? No, they don't care.
I will agree with you. Not real shame, but corporate. Like, how do we get
corporate shame? My favorite kind of shame.
Like, how do we increase our profit shame?
They got wrapped on the wrist, and they're like, "Oh shit, we have to do something to make ourselves look better now."
Exactly. All right, what do you think, Matt?
All right, here's what I think. I think your reasons for investing in Volkswagen as a potential competitor to Tesla. That's
what interests me the most.
But not investing in, say, NIO, which is an actual competitor to Tesla, the Chinese company, or not investing in, say, Nissan, who has the Nissan Leaf.
I almost did it.
And has equally shameful Carlos Ghosn corruption issues.
Yeah. Or their governance worse. It's worse at Nissan.
Or how about Toyota?
I thought about Toyota. I thought you'd laugh at me for being too obvious with Toyota.
I like that you're trying to get in my head with your pick.
Look, I admit that Volkswagen is a major curveball for me. I didn't expect it. But there's something about this self-driving thing. I'm big into self-driving cars because there's nothing more that I hate these days than highway driving and the impending death I smell everywhere. So I'm excited. I'm excited for a decrease in highway death.
I think there's other ways to invest in that. the decrease in highway death that don't require you to compromise every governance instinct you could have in the history of having it. So we're hell no on Volkswagen. We're out. We're not buying it. Sorry.
What's next?
We're not buying it. Next up is Emma. Emma with a little bit of a curveball pick. I'm curious what Damian you're going to have to say about this because the pick here is Time Warner.
Oh.
It is.
It's an automatic no. All right, what's your reasoning here?
So my reasoning is on some very, very recent news from Warner Media, which is that all of Warner Media's slated movies to hit the market in 2021, the same day that they get released in theaters, are also going to be streaming on HBO Max.
How is that good? How does that help them?
How does that help?
Aren't they going to lose? Aren't they going to lose ticket sales? I don't even know how important ticket sales are. They don't. Okay.
No, they are like the first media company to really hit the movie theater industry and say, sorry, like you're out of luck. We're not gonna throw money away on people who don't buy movie tickets anymore, which is a smart move because movie theaters don't have any sort of customer anymore. So I think that was a smart move. And I think that they have a bunch of movies that are going to do super, super well. And I think that they are going to be the first streamer to cut away from movie theaters. And I think that's a smart thing.
Okay. Except that, having lived on the East Coast and dealt with Time Warner all my life, they're Time Warner. And I hate Time Warner. So that's all I can say. Time Warner sucks.
Oh, for sure.
We can also say this.
Yeah.
You can't invest in Time Warner. They're a subsidiary of AT&T. So your investment is in AT&T. Not in Time Warner.
Yep.
How do you feel about AT&T? Can you make any of those arguments about AT&T?
No.
I'm going to go with a quick hell no on this one.
Yeah.
We're not buying it.
I think you're dumb.
We're not buying it.
If I had to watch Emma invest in AT&T, I would realize that Emma is just totally full of shit.
We're not buying it.
I don't want to say that. So I can't let that happen.
Look,
AT&T.
I'm being forced to do this. I have no good options here.
No good options. There are thousands of investable good options.
There are over 2,000 companies in the U.S. traded market, and you couldn't find one that wasn't AT&T or a shoe leather, a private shoe company.
Niche little companies.
I'm not going to shame you though, because I like the honesty. All right, what's next?
Next up is Damian's attempt to subvert the entire process of thinking and throw as many curveballs as he can, fitting deeply, squarely in his, I'm going to pretend to be a contrarian, but I'm really, we're going to make an argument here. It's Ubisoft, the sexual harassment engine that is Ubisoft. Now, please explain this pick.
Again, this is another one where I have a little bit of interest in these. First of all, I think all companies are sexual harassment engines. So
agreed. That is right.
Before, and I think like the only thing that actually changes the corporate world, and what does it really change? I hope it does. I'm hoping these changes actually have an effect in the next decade. But the only thing that actually gets people to change is a scandal, sadly. So I'm hoping that Ubisoft has made internal changes that it's actually going to affect the culture, because that's what it takes. That it actually takes this level of crappiness. The other two reasons, of course, I'm a Francophile, so I wanted to pick a French company just to piss you two off. And they have major headquarters in Montreal, and everyone knows I love Montreal. So screw you both. And the third reason is I just think I wanted to pick one video game company, because we're pandemic times, video games. Come on, video games. What are you going to?
You didn't go with Activision Blizzard, which is the publicly traded one that we can buy. You went with Ubisoft that only trades in European markets. And number two,
back up. So in Robinhood, you can't buy a non-US company.
You can't buy Ubisoft. I can tell you that. They're listed, I think, in France only. So
Rob.
But let's back up anyway, because this is fascinating to me, that your reasoning is because they went through a scandal, you're hoping that they change their ways.
Yes.
And the board consists like 40% of the board are related to each other and they're the founders of the company. It's a bunch of brothers, all white dude brothers. You're hoping that those guys change their ways, because literally there has been almost no real fallout from the scandal. In fact, since October, they're up from trading. They were trading. They're up. Let's see. What's that? They're up about 6%. So when the scandal broke, when was that? Well, when did it happen? Over the summer?
June.
It was
May,
June?
June.
So actually, since June, you want to know how much they're up?
Sure.
They're up, let's see, no one cares, because they're up 20% since June.
Right. Yeah. Well, a video gaming company. You're right. Nobody cares about the scandal.
But remind me exactly what their incentive to change their corporate culture is. When the stock is up 20%, they just released Assassin's Creed, a new Assassin's Creed, which is one of the biggest sellers of all time. It's supposed to be a great game, and there was no actual ramifications to all of their issues.
You're right. You're right about everything you just said. I'm just hopeful that the new people they brought in will have an actual effect on the corporate culture, because they brought in people who are supposedly, experts in, inclusion and diversity and all this stuff. So I'm just hopeful that these people will finally get some adults to manage them. That's it.
Does that mean that they're going to hire one person of color to be their chief of diversity? And that's going to be their token person of color on their board?
It may mean that. I mean, I'd have to dig deeper. You're right. It could all be a token fix. Again, I'm starting with the premise that all these corporations are shit, and that this one has some hope for some actual change, because it sounded like the workers were pissed. They got some new people in. Maybe they'll have a backbone now and they'll speak up for things. That's all. That's all I got.
A valued listener, a valued watcher, this is called the Hopey Changey Investment Hour.
This is the only way I do investing, is Hopey Change.
Hell no. We're not investing on Hopey Change. We're skipping Ubisoft for a bajillion reasons, and not least of which is we can't even invest in it on Robinhood. All right, Emma.
Yes.
We're just about halfway through the show, so we're going to move a bit faster now.
Wonderful.
Emma, your next company, let's even check that you can invest in it, because
maybe if we can't invest, we should just skip over them.
We're just gonna skip over it. You picked.
I think you.
Mars Incorporated, which is the candy company, right?
Correct.
Candy.
Mars bars.
Correct.
Mars is currently the owner is the Mars family. It is a privately held company. So
what? I just saw a stock price.
Yeah, where you saw it for Marston Brewery, which is a London-based brewery that is publicly traded. So already, I don't want your reasons, because hell no, we can't invest in this.
I'll just keep going.
We're skipping over Mars.
You can trade it in Tokyo.
Do you see what happens, people? Your clients will come to you and they will say, I want to invest in my mom's cousin's barber shop. And the fact is, you can't do that. That's not the way this works.
Matt, our idiocy is helping you shine today. This is your show. I think you've discovered something here.
Well, we're about to get to more idiocy, because
I wish you were meaner to us.
The next company that Damian chose is Mary Barra's I Won't Meet with My Employees Playground of GM. I think actually Damian is just trolling us. He's literally just picking companies.
I'll give you some insight to some of my choices, because the next one you'll laugh at too. But here's a little bit of insight: is I thought the obvious Damian play would be to pick all of the, like you said with Emma, to pick all of the solar companies, and I thought that would be too obvious. So I wanted to challenge myself a bit more, to not completely turn my back on huge companies that I hate. So let me tell you why GM. I'm just feeling like, okay, Biden wins. We're going to have a more focus on climate change. I'm kind of hoping that the next 4 years, maybe 8 years, if we can get 2 terms, that we start to focus more on American-based labor, on getting our manufacturing up, on manufacturing that is good for the world, good for the country. And I'm talking about, like climate progressive manufacturing, like electric vehicles. I'm looking at like a union revitalization. I'm hoping that that Biden's not just giving us bullshit on that. So I'm focusing on GM to be one of the companies that maybe can lead us into like a better, just a better American manufacturing place. I don't know. I'm hopeful.
Do you want an American flag you can wrap yourself in right now while you're talking
I'm
about
hoping that the left can retake patriotism a bit and start to like do some good for the labor in the Midwest. And I really seriously, like I know it's like weird that the Mr. Idiot passive aggressive Damian is actually a hopeful, changey loser.
Oh my God,
but it's true.
it's hurting my brain actually. So before
I'm hopeful. That's all.
God,
That's
it's
it.
the worst way to invest. Emma, before I dive into all the stupidity in that, do you want to take a crack?
Come on, Emma, you're on my side. Come on.
I see, Damian, I feel like I'm a good split between you and Matt. I think that I have your ultimate hopefulness, but Matt's everyday pessimism. And so I think that when I see GM, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Okay, but again, like, are we ever going to take care of the labor in our country, or are we just, what are we going to do here?
Well, is Mary Barra going to do it? I do have to say that I like that you're trying to pick not just a bunch of boring ass ESG, woke companies. You're picking companies that, based on something else. I like that. And you pick stupid ones. So Emma, continue.
But no, it's a big friggin' no from me. Absolutely not.
You hate companies run by women.
I think that, okay, first of all, I live in Massachusetts, one of the GM strongholds.
Is that right?
And it's,
what, Springfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, GM, and it's in Massachusetts is having a problem because GM is slowly declining. And there are less jobs here than there were before.
Let's support GM. That's what I'm saying. Let's invest in them. Let's support them.
I would rather not.
Here's the support. Here's the support that GM gave itself. The work stoppage cost an estimated $3.6 billion in sales. That's almost 3% of their sales in 2019. Disappeared because Mary Barra wouldn't get on the phone and meet with her own employees to hammer out an actual labor situation. And you think that's the one who's going to dress herself in a cape and save American labor?
Again, you're going with the premise that there are good companies. Like, I'm not going from that. I don't think there's
the other premise I'm going with.
And that's
car
what
manufacturer. What's that?
That's what I agree with. That premise that there are no good companies.
All right.
I agree with.
Here's the other premise I'm going with.
You're going to reject this, so just reject it and move on.
I'm going to reject it because GM was one of the companies that was actively lobbying with the Trump administration not 2 weeks ago on California's zero emission proposed rules. They were lobbying, and then they reversed it because Biden became president, and now they wrap themselves in, we're a green company now.
Well, that's
Mary
the premise
Barra
here.
Is almost the icon for the business roundtable opportunism and woke capitalism, and that's what you want to invest in now in their opportunism. That's not hope and change.
I thought you were supposed to help us make money.
What I'm supposed to do
are you?
I'm supposed to make sure you don't make stupid decisions by investing in a company that effectively is on the outside looking in of the future economy. And I'm hell knowing this. That we're moving on. We're moving on.
How come
this is terrible?
So they just committed $2 billion to build electric vehicles in Tennessee, and the stock goes up 10%. I don't. What's your problem? Why
They
can't we make money?
lost $3.6 billion by not talking to their own employees. Why didn't they do that years ago? Why are they doing it now? They're behind.
You're the worst financial
They're
analyst.
behind. I don't invest in companies that are behind. That's my rule.
I gotta tell you, what we're gonna revisit next week is that you changed the rules on us right before the show started. I think next week I should be allowed. Even if I'm the only one who agrees, I still get to invest $1 so I can prove you wrong.
We're going to have you open up a Robinhood account and you can invest your own dollar. Emma, we're moving to you. The next company you chose, we're going to see if it's even publicly traded because so far...
It is.
Is it Free Flow Media?
So far you've managed... It may be publicly traded, but it may not be available on Robinhood because you've invested... The company you chose is Teledoc.
Ooh, what's that?
Teledoc, which it does trade on the NYSE, so it should be available. Why don't you explain this pick? What is this?
Yeah, so it's essentially a virtual way to connect with doctors. Like that's all it is. You can consult. It's all these doctors who they have on call, and you make an account, and you can do all of this health consulting virtually.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so my reasoning behind picking it is, number one, I think that we exist in a broken healthcare system, and all of these solutions are going to be not adequate, but profitable, probably, given the fact that people still don't have access to healthcare, like in every other developed nation, whatever. And it also just completed a merger with something called Livongo, something like that. And that is actually a diabetes healthcare management system, which is also virtual. And
virtual diabetes healthcare management.
You had me until you said lumbago. Then I was like,
Lumbago, I think is what it's called.
All right, I'll say yes to this. What do you think, Matt? That's something here.
Well, I'm going to say yes to this because I think the premise is correct. I think the premise that we don't go back, like some portion of medicine actually gets siphoned off into pure virtual, is correct. And I hate it because my wife is a doctor and I require her to make lots of money so that I can afford my lavish lifestyle. But I do think big parts of what's happening in medicine goes virtual for a number of reasons. So we're gonna hell yes this. We're gonna hell yes it. We're all agreeing right now. So we're putting $5. Yes! We're putting $5 into Teledoc.
I don't know why I'm so excited.
I have this deep feeling like I'm gonna regret this.
No. Stop. Let's go.
It's a deep feeling. All right, Damian. Damian's next pick was Ben & Jerry's, but he had to buy Unilever because that's the traded company. So explain.
Again, another one. There's a theme coming with my company, which is just that I'm thinking I can make money in these companies that might be corporate greenwashing, eyewashing, whatever we call it, but the ones that are kind of embracing a wokeness, I think, can make us some money. And Unilever seems to be doing that. They're investing in plant-based stuff. They use Ben & Jerry's very wisely as this like their woke spokespeople. Yeah, that's it. She's trying to make some money. She's trying to make some money here. She's trying to make some money. That's it. I know. You don't have to tell me that they're evil. I know they're evil. I just got to invest in something.
Yeah.
Emma, hit this.
I hate everything about Unilever. I hate it.
This is coming from AT&T lady.
Is it the palm oil problem or is it something else?
The palm oil was the first one that came to mind, but so I took a class in college and it basically narrowed down like the 5 companies that own everything in the world, and Unilever is one of them. And that is so scary and horrifying to me that I want just nothing to do with it.
All right, Matt, what do you say?
So here's where your reasoning is not great, Damian. But the pick is actually good.
Yes.
And it's good for a number of reasons. Unilever does own everything, but Unilever is one of the only companies who's actually made progressive steps to changing everything also. They're one of the largest users
so?
of palm oil, for instance, but they're also nearly 100% of their palm oil is traceable to the mill level as of last year. So it's a small example, right? Like, so palm oil is terrible. You have to cut down entire forests to get it. But they can actually trace it, and they're one of the only large companies that does that, right? So,
well, this is sort of an invest versus divest argument, right? As opposed to ignoring the companies that you hate, maybe you invest in the ones and you try to change from within, right? Maybe like from a shareholder's point of view, you try to put pressure on them to act better. Is that what you're saying? I think
your point is they're brand conscious, right? Their brand, okay. They recognize that there's brand value in being progressive, and investors actually they may or may not listen to them. All that notwithstanding, the pandemic rages on. Everybody wants a fucking gallon of ice cream right now.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we're doing a big hell yes. Two of us on one, so it's not unanimous. So we're doing a $2 buy instead of a $5 buy, but we're buying some shares of Unilever, and Emma, you can suck it. Let's go into
she can suck delicious Ben & Jerry's ice cream, so that's fine.
Let's go to the next one that Emma chose, which is CVS Pharmacy. Yeah,
Emma, you're a strange person.
Can I actually?
I was really trying to mix it up. I was trying to mix it up.
Emma rejected Unilever on the basis that they seem evil, and they're a company that like rapes the earth for their products, and accepted Cole Haan, who literally kills cows and wraps your feet in them, as a business model. And cows are like a major source of emissions and destroying the planet. So
here's what I think you need to understand about my choices versus my explanations for Damien's choices. Is that when I was thinking through my choices, I was like, okay, I can't just say none, so I need to have something.
That's a cop out, Emma.
Do you see what's happening here, people? All right, listeners, it's a listener moment. It's a viewer moment. You can justify anything you want to yourself when it comes to making a choice about stock or money. Justification is basically the way we do business. So watch Damian and Emma continue to justify every decision they've ever made on this show, step by step, and realize that none of them really make sense. So Emma, continue what you were saying. I'm sorry.
So basically, no ethical consumption under capitalism, number one. Number two, CVS. So CVS, a couple of reasons.
CVS.
Number one, they're starting to open these stores called CVS Pharmacy Imas, which is a Hispanic like offshoot of their CVS stores that caters to the American, Hispanic, and Latina demographic.
That sounds troubling to me.
Which is both troubling and interesting. My guess is that it could. Apparently, they're doing pretty well.
Which is it more of, troubling or interesting?
I don't know.
No, she likes it.
Probably troubling. However, the whole idea is that they stock familiar products for people who are recent immigrants, and products that are common in Latino households. And apparently they're doing pretty well, and most of them are in New York, and they're going to be expanded into the border states like California, Texas. So there's that, and they are starting to do COVID treatments in nursing homes. So they're actually going into nursing homes and they're doing COVID treatments there. And they've been acquiring other like healthcare insurers. So they acquired Aetna not that long ago. And I think that they're just making big moves. They're scary moves.
So this is a money decision. You just see this as a good business
is a money
decision.
Okay.
Straight up make some money. Emma making it rain. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
I can get behind.
That is what I'm known for.
I like it when you give up your morals. I like that. Go ahead, Damian. What are we doing here?
I'm not going to give you a long list. I'm just going to say no. The thought of a pharmaceutical chain going into nursing homes and administering healthcare is frightening to me. So I don't want to get involved.
Well, there are a couple problems, one of which is CVS may be like one of the companies who helped distribute the opioid crisis around across America. And
I'm sure they're in bed with Sackler.
There's a massive potential liability on the horizon if the U.S. States Attorneys General's investigations sort of all unfold the way they could. But I'm going to say yes. And here's why I'm going to say yes. Their ex-CEO, Tom Ryan, I went on a date with his daughter once in high school.
Oh, God, here we go.
And he's a Rhode Island guy, and I like Rhode Islanders.
Oh, my God.
Listeners, you can
I feel
justify
like
anything
I feel like
to
Kobe
yourself.
Bryant story coming out of this somehow.
Anything you can justify anything to yourself. He did take me to the Fleet Center where we watched a Celtics game from the box, like the luxury box suites. We're buying. We're gonna buy some CVS right now.
Pathetic. All right, let's move on.
We're buying $2 because I know the guy who ran the company.
You two
for a
just
while.
hurt my soul. You two Trump supporters just hurt my soul on that one. All right, what's next?
Oh, yeah.
What's next?
All right, next up is Damian's pick of Penn National Gaming.
All right, I hope you've realized the theme in all my picks here. All of these are pandemic related because it's all about making us some money. Everything has a pandemic background. I just imagine people sitting at home, watching sports, gambling their lives away. I think the gambling thing is about to really explode anyway, because I feel like people aren't watching sports as much as they used to, and I'm expecting the whole gambling thing to make it just like that. You can gamble on everything, like everything to be a gambling moment in sports, and I just think it's going to explode. And I just think I want to invest in some gambling. That's it. Nothing. Nothing hope to change you there. Nothing hope to change you there. What?
Why
and
not?
They just legalized it in like 3 more states. What?
Why not DraftKings?
I don't think I can. I just picked Penn National Gaming because they're the first one I found that was a tradable stock. I think DraftKings are they public?
DraftKings is public, yes.
I'll take DraftKings. I want a gambling stock.
No, you're getting Penn National because that's what you chose. Penn National was a wonderful donor to the Republican Party in 2016 and 2018 and 2020. They're really big on
trade. You're right. I want to trade the DraftKings. I didn't know I could trade in them, and they're from Boston. Come on, give me a break.
Oh, now we're switching over to DraftKings,
Yeah,
which is a
let's do
totally
DraftKings.
different company. Okay. Emma, can you go over what's wrong with if you think anything's wrong? Because I think actually Emma strikes me as the kind of person who secretly has a gambling addiction on the side.
Ooh, I like it.
Better know your clients.
Not so secret anymore.
That is an interesting observation about me. I didn't know how to play poker until like this summer. And so I started playing poker a little bit, and I had one game where I just like took everything.
Nice.
And then I was done. I was like,
luck.
I think I'm done. I think that if I continue to do this, I could get addicted.
Yeah, you have that streak. So
I do.
Does that apply to fantasy and games and gambling?
So I'm actually a pretty big Boston sports fan, which becomes a problem for me. And so I have never done fantasy because that is something I think, number one, I would become the most unlikable person ever, which, from where I am is obviously not
all down. I like that. That's like something to progress into.
Yeah. And secondly, I think I could get addicted to it very easily. However,
Yes.
I have a personal connection to DraftKings. I have a friend who works for DraftKings.
Of course you do.
And I love him very much, and I would like to support him.
Yes.
However, and so I do actually think I'm going to say yes on this one.
Ooh.
Mostly because I don't have a great reason to say no. I don't know.
Well, Emma, you were the one who introduced this great concept to me of like rooting for regions when it comes to companies, like corporations.
Yeah.
You're a homer, and we're all from New England, and yes, I think. And I actually I tried to pick one. I tried to pick Boston Dynamics because of that reasoning, but I realized they were owned by SoftBank, and I passed on that. So, I'm with you. I think that's a great reason to invest in DraftKings. It's hometown team.
But you're both
The hometown
okay
team-
with the deep broism that is their leadership.
No, I hate
deep
broism.
broism.
Yeah, but the broism did not start at DraftKings. The broism is
we're gonna go with the we're gonna go with
bro. How do I do that?
we're gonna go with but broism is a systemic problem. So I invested it.
I introduced a female CEO, Mary Barra, and you guys rejected her. So go to hell with the broism.
Mary Barra, who is the friend of the worker, is what you introduced, and now you're parsing your morals. All right, it's a yes because both of you are in it, right? Like, so we got no choice now. I'm gonna go no because I don't want high exposure to broism.
Plus, you hate all vices.
You pick a vice that is better. Why is like a cannabis not one of the stocks that we've chosen so far?
I tried that.
Wait,
too.
give it a second.
Yeah, okay. All right, go.
Emma's up, and Emma's choice right now is Spotify.
Oh,
Wait a minute. How can you Spotify?
I'm so down on Spotify. Can we trade in Spotify?
Yes, Spotify is publicly traded, and
but it's
also, I
not
believe,
American,
is like triple class shares.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Emma.
So Spotify, mostly because they've been, and so this is actually relevant to us, which is partially why I picked it, is that they are trying to win the podcasting war by investing in their podcasting division.
Invest in Spotify. What are you waiting for?
Well, you can't shit on Spotify and then say invest in us.
Oh, I can.
Have you met Damian? He's going to take both sides of that fence.
The reality is, Emma, is that they don't care. If we had a huge audience, they would invest in us. They don't care if I make fun of them.
It's true. But I think that investing in podcasting is probably a good move. And currently their Spotify Wrapped just came out. And for those who are not Spotify users, it basically takes you through your year of listening, and it tells you how much you listened, what you listened to, what your genres are, like blah, 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 whatever. And Apple Music people are always consistently jealous every year when the Spotify Wrapped comes out because people are narcissistic and they want to be told things about themselves. And so I think Spotify's killing it. I don't know.
I guess I'm down on Spotify because recently the CEO has said some things that make me hate him, which is one, he got mad at artists for not creating albums quickly enough, told artists to like stop being babies. And then there's something else recently where I don't know, what is it? Some kind of pay scheme where he's offering them less money. And it just seems like it's turning into something that he promised it wouldn't turn into, which is just like another broy idiot making billions off the backs of artists. So I'm soured on Spotify. And also Joe Rogan makes me feel kind of dirty, and I know like that's their boy. So I'm just like bored of Spotify. All right.
I can't talk about Joe Rogan without getting a headache, please.
Okay, well, he's their bread and butter. They just gave him like $1 billion or something.
I like all these arguments from a guy who said, let's buy Ubisoft and GM.
I forgot my former choices.
Listeners, you can justify anything to yourself if you need to. We're going to buy Spotify because I agree with Emma. First of all, just off the bat, I like the fact that they direct listed. I like that no one was into it and they did it. And I like that, subverting the process. We're buying $2 of Spotify. I have problems with their governance, but I do think like if you're going to invest in something that's the future, podcasts and music streaming has been the future and they were way ahead. And it's like buying the Tesla of music. So we own it now. Speaking of streaming in the future, Damian picked Netflix, which was what I guessed. So
yeah, all right. So here it goes. This is easy.
Do we need to even talk about this?
No, this isn't easy. Well, I don't know, because do I have to convince you? If it's not a hell yes, I have to convince you.
Well, look, they changed their board structure, right? Like, so, and they changed the fact that it's not like a bunch of white guys, which for many years it was only a bunch of white guys making decisions. They've
Not only
changed
that,
a
but
lot.
their content is not a bunch of white guys, and they're making a conscious choice. I think developing content that's just not home improvement. So to me, here's why I picked Netflix quickly. They do represent kind of the wokey nature of big tech. They seem to make good decisions that don't get caught up in all the crap. Like they don't make Facebooky, Googly, Twittery decisions, and
they can't really make those decisions.
But I'm saying they seem to avoid controversy really well, and they've just become a backbone of our culture. And I just think we can make some money off it. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Emma, you're gonna agree. You're gonna agree here. There's no way you're not agreeing.
Is Hassan on Netflix?
He is on Netflix.
All right, so let's just say hell yes and move on.
No, Emma gets to say her piece.
I do agree. I would invest in Netflix.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it more.
All right, it's a hell yes from all of us. $5 in Netflix in the can. I think that's the saying. Now let's move on to Emma's next pick that is going to subvert all of her morals because we're making her a capitalist very slowly. And that's, are you ready for this, Damian? The Walt Disney Corporation.
Oh, well, again, Emma does have that latent anti-Semitism that she likes to trot around. So
always.
All right, what do we got, Emma? Let's hear
a low-key Nazi.
Let's hear it.
So this is another reason you're going to make fun of, and I don't care because I stand by it.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of the show.
This is going to be another Beyonce Peloton situation.
Oh no!
So,
can we guess?
Taylor Swift just dropped her making of album film on Disney.
Yeah.
And whatever Taylor Swift touches turns to gold. I'm sorry. It just does. And if Taylor Swift is on the Disney train, especially on the Disney Plus train, and especially with the current release of The Mandalorian doing very well and being pretty well received, and Baby Yoda also is just a gold mine in and of himself in terms of like merchandising, toys, all sorts of products. I'm on the Disney train.
So Mulan Uyghurs they're not a thing. That doesn't bother you as much as
me wanna cry.
Baby Yoda, cute. Taylor Swift, empowered white girl, slave labor in China. Meh.
I will say this for Taylor Swift.
Every single company on the New York Stock Exchange, and you cannot find one. You can find a shady thing. You can find 80 shady things about every single one of them. You can't win.
I will say this about Taylor Swift. 4 years ago, I was angry at her for not supporting a political candidate. Because I thought, if she could come out and support something, she's got so many minions following her. Maybe we can prevent Trump from being elected. She did not do that. I was angry at her. This time she opened her mouth and Biden won. So maybe it's only because of Taylor Swift. She might be the only reason.
She also shat all over what's her name? Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah, right.
And she still won, which was such a shame.
Okay,
I don't have to say much here, Matt. It's Disney. They just laid off another 30,000 people. I just got nothing good to say about Disney. I'm not gonna laugh at Emma. I just picked Netflix, and so whatever. But I don't want to invest in Disney. That's it. That's all I got.
Here's a listener aside. If you're buying something because a celebrity told you to buy it, you're probably buying the wrong thing. Don't buy that shit.
Don't make fun of Emma. That's 20% of her portfolio.
This is a hell no. We're not buying the Travis Scott Disney Hour as they lay off half of their employees.
And again, I disagree with the premise. I think Emma should be allowed to invest $1.
I don't care what you think because you're up next to tell me what you think about Microsoft.
Okay, I secretly love Microsoft mostly because I picked this out of it's like a nostalgia play. I think people are feeling they're feeling a lot of anxiety now, and Microsoft kind of represents like an old-fashioned kind of warm blanket. And look, Google, Facebook, Twitter, they're gonna get so much shit in the next decade that Microsoft is just gonna sit back, relax, make all the money. No one's gonna come after them. They already had their antitrust problems. And every list I see, I mentioned this Just Capital list. They are number one on that list. There's another list. Number one for employee happiness. There's just something going on there. I got a buddy who works there who has a very good life, gets paid very well, very happy. They just, again, I know it's Microsoft. I know that, they're probably inherently evil. I just wanted to pick one big data company, and I just feel good about this one. I think this can make us some money. I like Microsoft. That's it.
Emma.
Look, here's the problem with this.
Yeah.
Is that I have to argue for mine, but then when I have to argue against yours, am just using arguments that could rip all of my picks.
Well, it's fine. You're allowed to, though. I'm okay with.
That's actually the backbone of investing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with your idiocy rejecting Microsoft. It's fine. I mean, I know, first of all, CEO, person of color, I know that bothers you. I get it. I understand.
Didn't we start off this by saying that like I was the token like zillennial communist of this enterprise?
Zillennial. I haven't heard that. I like that. Zillennial.
That's what Matt always calls it. I'm Gen Z.
All right. Well, what do you think about Microsoft? Are you going to reject Microsoft?
No. I'll say yes to Microsoft.
Wow.
Right.
And both of you bought Salesforce because you thought the acquisition of Slack meant they could compete with Microsoft, and then you're buying the competitor.
They can both do well.
Here's my reason for Microsoft. I think that people will listen to anything that Bill Gates says. If it comes out of Bill Gates' mouth, people believe it. And that's all you need, really.
He doesn't work there anymore, right?
It doesn't matter.
People still associate him with the company. I will say this about Microsoft. And again, I don't know if we're getting fooled, getting corporate eyewash here, but half of the stories that come out of Microsoft is like these stories of them trying to do right by the world. And I don't know if that's the Bill Gates effect, but they for a corporate entity, they are constantly trying. They try more than anybody.
I also think that Bill Gates has pulled off the PR move of the century. People used to hate Bill Gates, and now all of a sudden it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and look at all the good we're doing for the world. When 20 years ago, people were like, Bill Gates is the actual devil incarnate. Well,
Emma, you're speaking to my initial point is that he's not Mark Zuckerberg, and people appreciate that about him.
I know, which is a low bar and a sad bar, but you're right.
It's like you love him in contrast to the heinousness of other companies today.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's how I'm investing. I didn't want to just pick a bunch of patchouli weed, solar panels, which is what I am inclined to do. So I wanted to take a risk here. What do you think?
All right. Well, first of all, I think you're right. It does make me nervous that every woke data provider has Microsoft as one of the wokest companies in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm concerned about that too.
There seems to be broad consensus that Microsoft is doing everything the wokiest. And that is that to me is of an eventual kick to the groin coming. So it makes me a little bit nervous.
I think he's calling you out, MSCI.
But we're buying it right now. We're buying it.
Yeah.
This with 5 companies each, because 10 is a long time.
Thank God.
And now we're getting into
I don't like
exactly
that. I don't like that
what
attitude out of either one of you. I find that attitude to be discouraging.
Exactly what I predicted was coming. Grow generation, the cannabis. I like that. Actually, they're listed as a farm supply company. That's what they are.
Why do we even have to discuss this one? I mean, of course we invest in weed. I mean, come on. It's getting legalized everywhere.
But we're not technically investing in weed. We're actually investing in something that is probably better, in my opinion.
Okay, what's better?
Ooh, titillating. Explain.
I think because we're investing in the what's needed for the supply chain of weed. You're investing in weed adjacent. So it's hydroponic farming, which is what you need to grow weed. And so it's a supplier for a lot of cannabis growing companies. It doesn't actually have anything to do with weed itself. It's farming. And so number one, you're funding, or we would be investing in what is desperately needed to grow weed. Number two, not only is it going to be farming, but I think it's smart to have the means of production, because people are starting to grow weed themselves. So like in Massachusetts, you can have up to 10 plants. And so I think that people are going to start. What?
Come to Maine.
Everybody's been growing weed for like a billion years.
I know, but my guess, maybe this is a little presumptuous of me, but if I had to take a guess, if they were smart, they would be working on like at-home growing kits to make it really easy for idiots to grow their own weed.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going for it.
Yeah, I don't want to slow this down. Yeah, it's weed. Fine, let's do it. Come on.
I'm deep in, and I'm actually deep in. Quick aside, your clients occasionally say smart things. You can listen to them sometimes. That buying the supply chain where they can pivot out of weed or into weed. They're not actually fully beholden to weed. You can buy hydroponic indoor farming, the whole concept. That's a massive growth industry.
Yeah, we get it. Weed, we get it.
It's not just weed though. I love the premise. We're all in. And I'm going to add an extra $1 to this one. It's going to be a $6 buy because I think this was the smartest company that I've heard either of you come to the show with yet.
Let's wrap it
up. Damian's last company is Sony.
This is again. I'm going pandemic here. I'm going video games. I wanted to pick some non-American stuff. I don't even know if we can trade in this. The other thing that caught my eye on this was it's a number one in the Wall Street Journal's list of the 100 most sustainably managed companies in the world. So I wanted to throw that at you to see if that affected you at all. But I'm long video games. I think this is the future of our sad, decaying population, just sitting on their couches, playing video games. PlayStation 5 just launched, the biggest thing going. Sony. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah, you're buying weed? I imagine you're going to continue to buy sitting on your couch.
Yeah, I mean, how are you not buying a PlayStation with your weed? I know. A long rant about hating the Japanese. Okay, let's hear it.
Honestly, I don't know almost jack shit about Sony, to be perfectly honest, especially given that a huge gap in my knowledge is video games. Like, I know quite literally nothing about video games, and I probably should. So honestly, I don't care. I don't know.
That sounds like a buy. But I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it too, and I'm gonna buy it. Partially because it is a deep window into Damian's soul that we've gotten today. First of all, you're picking as many companies as one would think you wouldn't pick to make it interesting and to be a little contrarian. And I can tell you're making arguments you don't totally believe in for the sake of.
Yeah, I'm putting myself out there.
Right. But simultaneously, you're basically saying with 90% of your picks that all you want to do is sit on your couch, be stoned, and watch shit.
Yeah, I do, and yet I don't have any weed. And despite the fact that I can go to a store now, I partly blame Emma for that. And I don't even own a gaming console. So I'm almost always about to buy a gaming console, and I chicken out because they're like $45,000. So
but this is the deep window. It's like it's like the conflict in you every step of the way. You don't actually do these things, but the you wish you could be is sitting on a couch playing the PlayStation 12 with a giant joint in your hand. And that's effectively...
I want to be 19 again. Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're saying. This is a Judd Apatow trading scheme is what it is.
Absolutely. That's dead on.
We're buying the Judd Apatow trade. So if you listeners at home want to know what Judd Apatow should be buying, this is it. The final stock of the day is the one I predicted for Emma. Brookfield Renewable Energy Partners. It is a renewable energy company. Please explain why we're buying Brookfield Renewable as opposed to, mostly I know why you're doing it, but why we're not buying some solar panel semiconductor company out of China.
Yeah. So I was looking around for all obvious, like you predicted, I was looking around for all these renewable energy companies, and it was all solar. Like everyone is hedging all their bets on solar, and I don't really understand why, considering that it hasn't.
It's because of the sun.
Oh, thank you. That was super helpful information for me. Actually, I think that was it. That was all the explanation we needed. I think we're done.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No. But my main reason is that they have a pretty diverse portfolio in terms of their renewable energy enterprises. And so that was interesting to me. Also, I think they're based in Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That also, I could be, yeah.
Canada.
And so, which is, of course, one of the largest providers of oil. And so I was like, all right, Canada, let's see it. And so they're not only in solar, but they're in hydro, they're in real estate, they're in infrastructure, they are also in private equity, but we don't talk about that.
Oh, we don't? Oh, we don't. Oh, okay. Continue.
No, we don't talk about that. But honestly, I have very little way of adjudicating how renewable if I had more time, I would do some more in-depth. Actually, I will do this for you. I will do some more in-depth research into how renewable energy companies actually are. But to me, this seemed, number one, the most global. They have shit everywhere. And so I think that they're expanding like crazy. And number two, it wasn't just solar.
All right.
So yeah.
Some of the shit they have everywhere. Go ahead, Damian.
I'm going to quickly agree. I like it diversifies our portfolio.
Do you?
And you raise a good point, Emma. One thing I did not do for the show, and I don't think we were supposed to, but maybe for next time, I don't know. But I didn't actually do any research into my companies. I just picked based on the stories and headlines. So it's a good point. Like if I had looked into these companies, I probably would have eliminated half of them with the insight that with what Matt brought up. But anyway, I'm a yes on this one.
Quick side note. None of your clients will have done any real research. They will have read the headlines. So, does it matter to you that Brookfield Asset Management, the parent company to Brookfield Renewable Energy Partners, which is a subsidiary that is publicly traded, that is the renewable energy infrastructure assets of Brookfield, is a massive, massive oil and gas infrastructure player?
Okay, I'm no on this one.
Well, here's the thing, and I think it does matter to me, first of all. It always matters to me. But
good work, analyst.
I think that any major renewable energy player is also going to have oil and gas. I think they all are. Anyone with the infrastructure and funding to do any real technological advancements in renewable energy, that's where their money is. They're all energy companies who understand that they're going to have to. They economically and socially, if they want their companies to continue, they're going to have to transfer over to renewable.
Is that like saying that Beyond Meat is also going to sell factory chicken nuggets? Like they're going to have to do that too?
Well, they're going to get bought by Tyson or stomped out by
How
Tyson.
dare you? Never. He will never.
Matt, am I wrong?
What do you think, Matt?
Here's the thing that I like about that last argument. It's that inevitably the major oil and gas players, the major emitters, are going to be the transition point for renewable. And Brookfield does more renewable than most of them as an infrastructure player. Although I would argue that if you're going to buy one of these, you'd probably want Macquarie, which is the Australian company, rather than Brookfield.
Look at Mr. Smarty Pants.
But we're gonna buy this.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You said yes and then no. You don't even
I'm
know
confused.
what you're thinking.
This is one area I get very confused about because I kind of vacillate on this one.
We're buying it for $2 because Damian said
Two
yes
seems
and then
fair.
said no.
Two seems fair.
So congratulations to the participants of today's trading show. Let's do a final word before we wrap up. Our final word on investing with morons, investing with blowhards is really what we're going with here.
No, morons. I think morons.
So So a modicum of research and getting underneath the headlines actually probably gives you a little bit more insight into what you're actually buying. Now, we didn't even do that modicum of research here. What we did was strictly react to our guts. And that actually tells you significantly more about your clients. On one hand, you have Emma, the client who's conflicted about doing this at all, but realizes if she wants to keep up her lifestyle, living in a nice Boston apartment and using her iPhone, that capitalism is necessary. On the other hand, you have Damian, who's just trying to troll you, the financial advisor, on a consistent basis, give you curveballs, see how you think, when really all he wants to be doing is be stoned on a couch playing video games. Knowing those things about your clients is the most important thing you can get in any conversation. So thank you, Damian, and thank you, Emma. We're going to wrap the show right there. We'll be back next week with more Blowhard Index. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.